Hello, hello. I hope I'm on here and you can hear me okay. Let me just adjust the mic. Okay. Well, okay, I'm trying to get used to this mic. All right, so let me also share that I am actually live because I know people do not get the notifications every time. That's not what I want to do. Okay. All right, so we've shared. I have my drink for the night. I just need a drink today, guys. It's a truly lemonade, black cherry lemonade, I think. No, I don't think it's cherry. It's something. I normally don't like cherry flavored. Let me see. It was good. It's some type of, it might be strawberry. Okay. So I'm ready to talk about this conversation. This is a follow up to another video that I did. So let me just put that on here. Follow up to this video. I can pin it to the chat. Let's see if I can pin it. Hi, Tanai. I don't know why I'm not showing up. Maybe I can pin it from my phone. Okay. Okay, so I pinned the message up there. So this video is just a follow-up to the conversation I had a while ago. And hopefully you can hear me okay. Tonight, let me know if you're actually able to hear me. I am using a microphone, and this is only my second time using it. So hopefully you can hear me okay. But I'm going to be going through some demographics specific to Black men. I will be talking about Black women on Thursday. So I will be looking at the stats. Again, this is in follow up to a video I did a while back where I was going through demographics that were specific to Black poverty rates. So we talked about Black poverty and how we get out of poverty as a people, as Black people. I know there are multiple people that watch me, not all Black people, or not all Black American people either. However, it's something that I talk about because I am Black American, right? I'm born and raised in Missouri. And I think it's important to talk about. So this is in follow-up of that because to understand the Black poverty, we found that we have to look at the Black men. So, what's going on with our Black men? What do the demographics tell us? And cheers tonight. Yes, cheers. I also have my water. You guys know I drink water all day. So I have water for myself too. And tonight, let me know if you can hear me very clearly. I'm going to go ahead and go through the stats here and pull up my screen. So give me 1 second to do that. Okay, so this one. All right, let's see if I can share this screen because I want to use this website that I told you guys about a while back, where it's literally an organization that shares Black demographics. They pull information directly from the US Census and they provide these stats specific to the Black American population. So you should be able to see my screen here. I might want to make this a little bit bigger. I don't know if I like that. All right. I'm going to be on the side here. Okay, it sounds good. Thank you, Tanai. Love it. Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so let's get started with the statistics. All right, so the first thing that they highlight are just they lay the land, really. They just talk about the population, and they're comparing Black men to all other men. So you're going to see that they say all males, and then they say Black males. So you're seeing a comparison. And this is according to the 2018 stats. They have not updated, like, I don't think we have 2020 census that I've seen yet. But they're comparing 2018. Honestly, I can't imagine that much has changed. So I think we're okay there. It's not like we're using stats from like 2000. So I'm okay with that. So they say the population of Black men in 2018 is about 21 million. In comparison, all men in the US is about 161 million. And then the median age is actually younger. The Black male population is a little younger than other male groups in the US. So you look at the median age there, 32.5, and then we see the average for other men is about 36.9. I do wonder if that is due to, because I've seen stats for men and the age that they typically pass away at. Most of them are in the 70s, but I do know that Black men they're like at that earlier age, but it is maybe a few couple of years in between. So that's interesting there. And then they did compare the Black women population, but I'm not going to be really looking at that. So we're not looking at the women. We're just talking about the men. We'll talk about the women on Thursday. All right. So the main thing that they wanted to highlight is that Black men on average are younger compared to other men, just what I talked about. And Black male children under 18 years old are about the same percentage as all male children. So that means that the Black men are passing away, declining quicker than other men, is what I'm seeing from the stats. So, and they do point out as the men get older, due to a higher mortality rate than other males on average, and they do include a table for that. So let's dig in. Let's not, get too, let's not go directly in the dark, right? Let's look at the educational stats about Black men. And they're looking specifically at 25 and older. 25, at the age 25, most people, if they are going to get a degree, they will have gotten it by that point, by that age. So let's look at this stat, and hopefully you can see everything okay. All right, so Black men. What's the percentage of Black men that are attending college? Well, right at 50%. Compared to all men, it's at 60%. So not a huge issue there, but we're going to get into talking about some things I do see as an issue. Would love to see that number higher, but I get it. Not every person is going to go to college. Not everyone needs to go to college to be successful. A bachelor's degree and higher, 19%. This is where it gets interesting. Only 19% actually have a bachelor's degree or higher, whereas 32% of all men have a bachelor's degree or higher. The thing that I question with that stat overall, and I've talked about on this channel, is the whole student debt issue, the fact that so many people are going to school and not even getting their degree, then they leave with student debt. So to see that Black men are attending college, 50%, but then 19% of Black men have a bachelor's degree or higher, it shows that they're not getting that degree, which is, what's the point? So you're leaving school with debt for nothing. And then you even see with all men, 60% are attending college, and then 32% are actually gaining bachelor's degrees. So higher, but still a surprising stat to me in general, that's the percentage that actually has the bachelor's degree. Less than a high school diploma, pretty close to most men. All men, 12%, have less than a high school diploma, but Black men do trend a little higher when it comes to having less than a high school diploma. We're going to see some other stats in here that show the percentage of those getting a GED. All right, so this chart, and let me know if any of this is surprising. So this stat, so 15% less than a high school diploma, that means they didn't graduate high school, compared to 12% of all men. And then we get into the high school graduate, like the equivalency. So someone going back to get their GED. So at 35%, they're getting the GED compared to 28% of all men, which is probably just because more of them have the high school diploma the traditional way. So this stat in here, I do want to highlight too. Some degree, but no, or some college, no degree. Some college, no degree. 20% of all men are going to school, but they're not getting a degree. 23%, so slightly higher than all men, they're going to college, getting no degree. Again, that just makes me think more of the black men, slightly, are going to school, they don't complete the degree, but do they have college debt? I can imagine they do. But then how do you even move forward from there, having that you're saddled with that debt now to move forward? Okay, so then they dig into the different types of degrees that the men have. 7% have an associate's degree, trends right along with all the rest of the men, about 8%. A bachelor's degree, 12% of the black men have bachelor's degrees, while 20% of all men have bachelor's degrees, which makes sense because we just saw the rates of the men going to university is higher than black men. And then we see graduate degrees. So 7% of black men are getting graduate or professional degrees, and that's compared to 12% of all men. So that's interesting too. Be interesting to see that stat actually higher. I'm surprised at this because I've also seen stats where they're saying more black people in general are getting professional degrees, like beyond a bachelor's degree. I do think that's more on the black women, but again, we're not going to dig into their stats today. We're going to do that on Thursday. All right, so 19% have a bachelor's degree or higher compared to 32%, and then 50%, as we saw earlier, attend college compared to 60% of all men. Now we get into the employment. So this is my space, you guys know. Recruiter, I love looking at employment data. This is kind of where it gets kind of sad. A little sad. So, okay. Tonight, you can't wait until Thursday. Yes, black women. That's going to be good, I think. Okay, so let's just read this main paragraph. African American males ages 16 to 64 had a lower participation rate in the labor force, 69%, compared to all males, which was 79%, which we'll see in the table below, which it points out. Labor force participation refers to the percentage of men who were either working or looking for work. Males that are not in the labor force include those that may be full-time students, disabled, or others who are not looking or gave up looking for employment for other reasons. I think the year, like after, like if you haven't gotten a job, I think the number is after 6 or 7 years, automatically you're taken out of the labor market when it comes to U.S. Census and taking these type of labor stats. So it also includes those people that have been looking and then they just gave up looking and they just assume you're no longer in the labor market. And then we get into the earnings, which we've talked about on the channel. In general, black people earn less than other races of people. 37% of black males who worked full-time all year in 2018 had median earnings of $30,000, roughly $31,000, compared to $41,000 for all men. So they're earning about $10,000 less, working full-time, same as other groups of men. Of Black men ages 16 to 64-year-old, 41% had no earnings in 2018, which was higher than 30% of all men with no earnings in the same age group. It's interesting. So, I do see some comments in here. Let me see. Tanai says, does this include entrepreneurs? So that's a good question because I do think they should be considered in these stats because technically they would be in the labor market. They have to do taxes. They have to say that they're working for themselves. So I would naturally assume they would be, unless you're doing some work where, you're not paying taxes. That's all I'm going to say. You're doing some work, but the government knows, but the government hasn't gotten you, yet for the taxes. So if you're reporting taxes, you should be within this labor market. What it would exclude, though, are those people like, let's say you're a stay-at-home dad, you're not bringing in an income, you're not paying taxes, you're a dependent on the wife, who would be the head of household. So it should definitely be inclusive. It doesn't say specifically, but naturally, I would think it would be. I'll look it up to be sure later, but great question. I see DOD asked the same question. Hello, do they include self-employed Black men? And again, I would assume if you're paying taxes, the government knows about you and you would be in the labor market. Tanai, you're laughing at Tanai. Tanai is saying, shh, okay, yeah, we're not gonna talk about it. But people know they need to pay these taxes. Okay, because they will come get you. They'll watch you for a minute and then come get you. Okay, so digging more into the stats. So percentage of those in the labor force, 69% compared to 79%. And here's the thing too, even when you think about entrepreneurs, there are more entrepreneurs that are not Black people. Like we've seen stats that show that, so I would naturally assume. Okay, so what's the percentage of the labor force who are employed? So those people that have not just given up, they haven't been deemed disabled and all of these things that they take out of the labor force. So they say 89%, when you take that into account, are employed compared to all men, which is 94%. So that stat isn't as drastic, right? When you account for, you're looking at that percentage of those in the labor force and seeing who's employed. This is a number that always stands out to me. We saw that on the other video I did where I talked about Black poverty. Black men below the poverty level, 21% compared to 12% of all men. That's not a great statistic to see. And again, they're looking at ages 16 to 64. Yeah, it's just tough. And we learned in that prior video that really Black men have a harder time getting out of poverty compared to, it looked specifically at white men, white women, and Black women, and comparing all of those groups, they have the hardest time. And we also talked about mentorship, like Black men being mentors to Black boys being one key that could help with bringing people out of poverty. So let's talk about the men that are working. They're working full-time all year round. So 37% of the Black men are working full-time all year round, compared to 47% of all men. Then we talked about the earnings earlier. Now they're looking at full-time median earnings for 2018. 41% still, 41,000 compared to 52,000. And then we looked at earnings part-time or other, about 22% compared to 23%, excuse me. And then this stat, I didn't even see this one earlier. 41% have no earnings all year long. I'm gonna have to look into that one. 41% compared to 30% having no earnings all year long. I do wonder if that might be people that are like the men that are deemed stay-at-home dads, or just people, during that transition, if I can say the word, transitionatory. I can't say that word, guys. But the period where maybe you are in between jobs, right? So I wonder if that is taken into consideration. Hello, Mr. 100 Rounds. Hey, hey. One Love, hello. Her and I had the same thought. You guys did have the same thought. I thought that was funny. You guys came in here typing at the same time. So, Black men are measured against all men. Of course, men should be. Men are measured against all men, yes. No women. No women are in comparison. So, men are compared to other men. Just like with the video on Thursday, the Black woman will be compared to other women. So Tanai says, I'm confused about that 41% no earning. Exactly, is what I don't understand. So they're saying of these men, so ages 16 and up, no earnings all year. Now I can imagine, if I'm trying to think about this, I'm just thinking of what this could be. Could it be that this is inclusive of entrepreneurs that are reporting maybe that their expenses outweigh their income? I don't know. That could be a part of it. I'm not sure how they completely figure that one out. Again, they're just taking ages 16 to 64. I wonder if maybe the younger population here, like, people that are in school, that could be trending that lower. But yeah, that's interesting. I really have to dig into that one because I didn't even see that earlier. I was like, what? This doesn't even make sense. But if it's countering younger men, like again, age 16, I know just from experience, especially younger Black men have a harder time getting work. You guys know I talked about this on the channel. When I interviewed at a place, I had an owner and it was just a simple job. It was a smoothie shop. The owner, I'm like, I just walk in, I'm like, hey, you guys hiring? Because I was in college, I just need a part-time job. I was adding more like work because I wanted more money. And so that was just during the summer. And this guy tells me, he's like, yeah, I don't hire men. Or he said boys. He does not hire boys. He hired only girls. And he didn't care what girl, like it was a mixed group, Black, white, Hispanic, whatever. Only women, only girls at the time, like called me a girl. But yeah, so just in general, even looking at programs where companies are hiring for internships from boys in college, or got people in college, I should say, seeing it just visually, no, I don't have the specific stats, but visually with my own eyeballs, I definitely have seen trends where I'm sending forward Black men and they're like, hiring teams are like, nah, we take this one over here. It's tough. And then you think about what's in your community, because age 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, up to 25 even, a lot of times folks are taking on jobs with people in their community. Their uncle has some company that he can work at. My neighbor has this that I'm doing work for. These are some of the conversations I have with non-Black boys. I've heard them talk about the experience they have, so they're able to really use that experience and get full-time work from that. And it's harder. So I will definitely say that it's definitely harder from my perspective, again, like in the recruiting world and HR world, and in the Black community, Black spaces, and then also in white spaces and Asian spaces and Hispanic spaces. Like I see the differences. I definitely see the differences with younger kids in general, I would say, but especially the men, Hey, Savage, welcome in. I'm looking at Savage's comment. Like, what were you doing that year? Exactly. It's like, what were you doing that year? Now, again, I can see from the perspective of someone actually starting a business or something, so they're not actually able to say they earned something. Like, you think about things like real estate. You think about if you're just starting up a business, you're probably not earning much, so they would say you're not really you don't even have to pay taxes on it, right? So that could be a part of it. But then there's also, and I talk about this sometimes, you drive through a community, right? And what do you see? You drive to a white community, Asian community, Hispanic community, Black community. What can you see some of the men doing? I'm not even going to say it, but what do you typically see men, working age men, doing when you're just riding through and you're like, oh, what's going on over here? Of course, I'm not just what's going on over here. I'm trying to get out of, I'm not even going to lie. Nope. Let me get through this area. I'm being funny. It's not funny, but it's funny because it's like you're not trying to hang out and mingle. What are the men doing? What are the Black men doing when you go to the Black community? If you just sit in your car for a little bit, what you're driving around, cruising, what are you seeing the men do? When you go to the white community, what do you see men doing? If they're even in, like, on a typical Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, broad daylight, whatever, nighttime, whatever. What are they doing? I'm laughing at these comments. I mean, why aren't they compared to a specific group of men? They're calling out the Black men. So this is an organization that specifically looks at Black people. They're not, I don't think this organization is focused on what are the Asian people doing, what are the Hispanic people doing, what are the white people doing. Now, in the past, the group of men that they'll compare these Black men to is typically white men. I haven't seen much where they're comparing Asian and different groups yet, but maybe they will. But generally, with this study, they're doing the same thing with the women. They're comparing generally to just all men. He sounds like a creep. He was actually a really nice guy. Like, I didn't have any issues with that man. So, but that's funny. I could see why someone would think that. Sounds like Hooters. It was definitely not Hooters. I've never worked at a Hooters or anything like a Hooters. It was definitely just a traditional standard smoothie shop, but he just tended to hire all girls. We did get tips though, so I appreciated that. But yes. Okay. 75K per year sounds good. So let's look into those statistics. And I do see Tanai saying yard work, sitting out being nosy. Tell the truth, Savage. Tell the truth. You see sitting, working on cars. You do see that. You see that everywhere. All men, I think that's like the holistic, the holistic thing. Like, all men come together. You could definitely say all of them are probably going to be working on. You're going to find a group of men in a community working on cars. Definitely, if they were doing some work. How many Black working age guys just walk up and down the street like scrubs? That part. Because the reason I'm saying I'm not in that community just chilling, like, oh, this is nice, I'm just going to relax right here. A part of that, bring myself up for a minute. Guys, a part of that is, do I feel safe? If, to Savage's comment, if there are working age men just walking up and down the streets and looking like scrubs, again, this is a video where I'm like, I'm not even going to say it. You tell me. Am I going to feel safe? No. Like, let me get out of here. Wrong part of town. Let me GPS. Let me get this thing working. I am in the wrong part. Why did you take me through here? But yeah, you do see that. So thank you for being honest. Some, obviously not all, because I'm sure someone's going to rewatch this and say, Jessica said all Black men are, and I'm reading the comment and I am in agreement that you will see that. And they are not working from home. I would say probably not. Nope. Nope. Most are broke and oh my Lord. The stats, I'm sticking with the stats tonight, but let's see what the stats tell us. Let's see what the stats tell us because it's telling a story. That's all I'm going to say. There is a story being told, and so we're gonna keep going here. All right. So coming back to the earnings, what are Black men earning? And I think Savage had pointed out something about 75K. So okay, so they went from no earnings at all, which is just what are you doing? I'm going to say real estate, getting a business started, and then the other percentage are just people that are just maybe not doing anything. I don't know, maybe going to school. So we're gonna look through here. So $1 to $9,999, or and they say or lost here. So they're negative. Again, I think that's someone that's starting a business. I hope, and they have their expenses outweighing their what they have coming in with their profits of the business. 3% of Black men, 2% of all men. So all men, I would just chuck it up to all men are about 3 to 2%, right? 10,000 to 19,000, or up to pretty much 20,000. 12% of Black men. This is Black men here. 12%, compared to 9% of all men. And I think DOD, it would be interesting to see the men, because I wonder if these are Hispanic. Like, I would like to see the comparison. They just don't do it in this chart. I would like to see that, like, okay, compared to Asian men, which we know make a ton of money, white men make a ton of money, and Hispanics are typically trending kind of either just slightly above us or slightly lower than us when it comes to a lot of these statistics. Okay, so we looked at that, right? 20,000 to almost 30,000. 20% of Black men are in this range, working full time. 14% of all men. Then we get to 30,000 to 49,000. 32% compared to 27% of men in that range. 50,000 to 74,000. Right around the same. So, and I do see stats that say about between 60 and 65,000 is about the average for people earning an income in the United States. So no matter where you're located, obviously it's going to deviate in certain locations like California, New York, right? But in general, across the United States, most people are making somewhere between 60 and 65,000. And then we look at that 75,000 number, which I would say this is where you're living comfortably. Like, you can do some things. You don't feel as scrunched. I like to say 100,000 is more the number, but I am considering people that are in lower cost of living markets as well. So 75,000 at least, especially if you're considering things like you're going to raise a family and things like that. But 75,000 or more, we're seeing only 13%. And then for all men, and this is surprising too, all men, 26%. So I think that's a low number in general. I'm actually very surprised at that number. Only 26% of all men are making 75,000 or more. Whereas we have 13%, so half of that. So that number is already low. Only 26%. So about a quarter of men, 1 in 4 men, are making 75,000 or more, if we can look at it that way. Then Black men are making less than that. So maybe not even 1.5. So 1 out of 10 are making, 75,000. I think those numbers need to be up for all men, because if we're painting those agendas where we're saying we want women at home, well, these stats are saying women can't stay at home. Prices are going up, and the pay is, only 26% of men are making over 75,000. I can't see living comfortably making under 75. Well, I would say, depending on where you are. So I would say 75,000 with a family is definitely ideal. and above, right? Above 75,000. Hello, Sharky. Welcome in. How are you? Thanks for saying everyone. These comments are so. Let me take a. It's time to take a little sip. It's time. It is time. Tonight is like, she's saying the dust. Okay. I got proof. Savage, what do you have proof of? Love Mango said most are broken base. This comment, I'm just like, oh my goodness. I mean, the stats are telling the story. The stats are telling the story for us. Okay. So Savage works from home, like me. So good. All right. So let's dig in here a little bit more. 50,000 or more, at least we can say 33% of men are making at least 50,000 or more. 48%. Now that's interesting too. Close to 50% of all men are making at least 50,000. But only 33% of Black men are making at least 50,000. That's interesting. And we already know that we have an income gap. So Black people are paid less. And then for women, which we're going to talk about Thursday, you know how it hits us. We have a double whammy. So what type of jobs are these men working? 41% are working white collar jobs. 50% of all men are working white collar jobs. So these men are underpaid. Black men are clearly underpaid, working similar jobs. Blue collar jobs, 36% Black men, and then 35% of all men. So just a slight uptick with blue collar jobs there. I don't really differentiate between like white collar, blue collar, which one's better. At the end of the day, we need all of them. So we need all of them, right? So I think there is this mentality of like, are you high value and all these different conversations that happen. But at the end of the day, when you think about blue collar jobs, your construction workers, your plumbers, your all these jobs that keep things running for us is valuable. So I am not of the same thinking there. I think we need all of it. And a lot of those jobs can be high paying as well. It's not like you work a white collar job and you're instantly paid a bunch of money. No, it doesn't work like that. Just like you immediately get a degree and then you get a bunch of money. No, it is not exactly how it works. And then we have service occupations, 23%, over 15% of all men. So they're working more service occupations over all men. Okay. So we dig into this a little bit more. Where are the Black men working? So they said cities where Black men with jobs outnumber Black women. So they're doing a Black people comparison. I don't know why. I don't really like men being compared to women as much unless I'm trying to show the pay differences, but that's okay. Let's go with it. So these are the metropolitan cities where the Black men that are working full-time outweigh the women. And you got San Diego, you have Seattle, Washington, Denver. So this could be some thinking for Black, especially if you're younger or you're able to move. These may be some good locations for you to move to. So Denver, Colorado, Phoenix, Arizona, Minneapolis, St. Paul. So in my view of this, if I'm reading this correctly, let me go back. So it says nationwide, there are 93 Black men with full-time jobs for every 100 Black women with full-time jobs, but that number can vary greatly depending on the location. For example, number 1, San Diego has 167 full-time working Black men for every 100 full-time working Black women. So yeah, they're outweighing the women. So there's more Black men in these cities working than Black women. I like how it calls out St. Louis, where I'm from. While number 49, so bottom of the list, number 49, St. Louis where I'm from, only has 78 full-time working Black men for every 100 full-time working Black women. Being a woman, a Black woman from St. Louis, Missouri, I can confirm that from just visually seeing. Like if you go to a Black, and this is where I come from, like you go to a Black community, what are the men doing? I think it depends on where you are. So you're going to see some different answers. But like in St. Louis, Missouri, Black men have a very hard time getting jobs, like a very hard time. And so there are some cities that maybe Black men don't want to be in. So we see the bottom of the list: Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Birmingham, Alabama. I don't know if I would want to be in Alabama in general. I have family in Alabama, but I don't want to be there. I've been to Alabama and I did not want to be there. Even as a 7-year-old, I was over it. So yeah, not for me. Little Rock, Arkansas. I can attest to that too. I have family from Arkansas and I've been to Arkansas. Can't say that I wanted to be there for a long time because there wasn't a lot going on. Where are the opportunities? Cleveland, Ohio, and St. Louis, Missouri. So yes, and a lot of it does come from what is the culture in a lot of these areas? What is the Black network? Are there groups of Black people that are established, and are they making connections with other people? Are they able to reach back into communities and help others? Are they able to even just in their own community? Because not every Black community is poor. It's just that the poor neighborhoods are outweighing the actual, I shouldn't even say well-to-do, but your average to well-to-do neighborhoods. But are these folks helping? I don't know. But these are the areas where I would imagine there must be a better network of Black people helping each other, and Black men in particular helping each other, or Black professionals, or something's going on in these communities, in these cities, I should say. Okay, I'm going to pause and look at some comments because I have been doing a bad job of looking at the comments. I am so sorry. Okay, let's see. Oh my goodness. Let me go from the top. Broken basic. I'm just like, why? Again, not a comment from me. I don't think all men are broken basic, Dusty. There's too many that are not doing enough, is what the stats are telling us, though. Not doing enough. I got proof of the bums around here. Lord. Okay. Savage, remind me where you're located. Let me, wait a minute. Let me take a sip. Okay. Savage, where are you located? Savage says, I have proof of the buns around here. So, and here's the thing. For Black men, here's the thing. You have power. I literally was at a post office. This is Dallas, Texas, right? I was at a post office. I was getting my passport because mine had expired. So anyway, this Black man, older Black man, he was saying something to the lady who was taking care of him, and he's like, "Yeah, these white people just won't let me something." And I looked over, and I looked at the Black man that was actually helping me, and we just smiled at each other because it was just like, you just can't make this stuff up. Who is stopping you? Go do something. No one's telling you have to stay in a certain location. No one's telling you have to do a certain thing or a certain job or you have freedoms and you can make things for yourself. If that was the case, we would not see people that look like us doing things, right? Doing great things. But that mentality right there is but who? Where is it? What man? Where is the man that's not letting you do things? That mentality is very much in our community, which is a problem. So that's one problem right there. But to Savage's point again, we see it. We do see it. We just have to be honest about it. Tanai, you do not mince words. Yeah, Tanai is look, I'm going to tell you. These stats are saying a lot. They are saying a lot. And again, I made that video where I talked about the poverty rates. And I'm saying, look, for the Black community to get better, it has to start with Black men. We can't look at these stats and see that these income levels are so low and say Black women need to do something. I don't think there are many communities that focus on the women to better the community outside of being in the home, teaching the kids, educating, things like that, really preparing the children. That's typically what we see when we're talking about the responsibility of the woman. So we'll talk about that more on Thursday, though. I'm white collar and low pay. There you go. Thank you, Savage. So just from being in a white collar job does not mean that you're going to get paid. And here's the thing, actually, blue collar jobs, they're in demand right now because a lot of folks, they're in demand in the United States, and they're also in demand a bit more in China as well. Hopefully I don't get dinged just for saying the word China, but um, a lot of kids have been told that this is not what you want to do. Low paying, you get more money, it's not looked at as a great industry, it's not respectable. And so now we're in a place where we need folks, like when you think about it, why I talk about the value thing, like high value doesn't mean white collar necessarily. Are you contributing to your society? And we need, like, what happens when your electricity goes out? Who do you call? An electrician. Who do you call when your water is not working? You call a plumber. Who do you call when you need help? You call, ambulance, fire department, whatever, officers, all these jobs, right? That people are in. And then people want to go around saying like, that's not valuable. Okay. Let's let you have an issue, and then they're going to be pretty valuable, I think. So I don't come with that same mentality. But when you dig into the pay for a lot of these jobs, I do foresee those jobs having even more pay because they're more in demand, because the folks kids don't want to go to trade school. They want to go to college, get the debt, get the degree, get the fancy degree, get that name, and, work a fancy job, which there's nothing wrong with if that's what you want to do. But we're finding that some people, they don't even want to do that. They're just doing it because they think that's the route that you have to take to make it. That's what we're being told. That's what we've always been told. Being told the lie. It's not necessarily the only path to do something. There's a reason I always talk about Seattle. Oh, you're in Seattle, Savage? West versus South? Interesting. Yes, good point. Hey, King Akil, welcome in. Nice to see you here. Okay, I'm going to pull back up the stats so I can get through this. I do not want to be on here super long. Louisiana, is it just as bad? Oh, you're in Louisiana. Okay. I hope you're saying you're in Louisiana. It's just as bad. Oh, I'm sorry, Savage. Yeah, you know what? When I've gone to New Orleans, I love New Orleans, but yeah, I've wondered about that. Peace Tech. Okay, let me go back to the stats. Wait. Savage is in the Big Easy. Okay, I gotta finish these comments and I'll get back to this stats. Someone stole your car, Savage? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness. See, and that's the thing. It's like here's the thing, like going back to the high value. Are you being a menace to society? That's not valuable. Are you a menace to society? Or are you contributing to your society? That's all you need to do. That works for every race, gender, age group. It just works. Like, don't be a menace. That's it. End of story. I need to make a high value, low value type of video. I'll tell you what is and what isn't. That's terrible, Savage. I'm so sorry to hear that. Come to Atlanta. Brothers are getting money down here. I've heard too many things about Atlanta men, especially Black men in Atlanta. Yeah, and it kind of terrified me. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. I don't know. I will visit Atlanta, but I would probably be 100% single as I am. I'm in Dallas now. single, but I would definitely be like not dating anyone if I came to Atlanta. At least not black men. I would not be dating black men in Atlanta just because of what I've heard, unless someone just completely won me over some kind of way. Like, no doubt in my mind, I no, I'm scarred from all the things I've heard. I'm sorry. Sorry, King of Kill. Savage, my bad. I thought you were in the New Orleans. Like, okay, I don't know who Easy Eric is. Yeah, Atlanta is a beautiful city. Okay, I'll get back to this, and I'm gonna go back to stats. So programmer, and I just got to erase the fit. You're a programmer? What kind of programmer? That doesn't sound right. That does not sound right. I'm just gonna say that. Let me share my screen again. That does not sound right. A programmer making 52,000, unless you're very junior, unless you just received your degree or you're just starting out. That just doesn't sound quite right to me. So I don't agree with that stat. I don't like that number. Okay, so smaller metropolitan cities. Hopefully you can see this. Where are the black men at? So they kind of broke it down here. So they're saying metropolitan areas black full-time working population of 15,000 to 50,000. So these are the top metro areas where most black people are. So 15,000 to 50,000 working population. I don't know what they're saying here. They're saying that I think they're saying that black men outnumber black women working in this list too. So we've got Portland, Oregon, which I do believe. Clarksville, Tennessee, interesting. San Jose. San Jose just has a higher population of men in general when it comes to women as well as San Diego. I've seen some stats that show that. Providence, Rhode Island. Who wants to go to Providence? Interesting. Okay, Providence, Rhode Island. And then Temple, Texas. So we got some insight there. I will share this link after this video is posted. Now, so the areas that have less are like Honolulu, Hawaii. I don't know how the black population in Honolulu, Hawaii, though. And I think there are more women in Honolulu, Hawaii. I wish Edward was in this comment because he could tell us. El Paso, Texas, Salt Lake City. I don't even know where that is. Oxnard, Ventura, California, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. Interesting. And then King of Kill can tell us about Athens, Georgia. Bottom 5, Sumter, South Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina, Peoria, Illinois, and Saginaw, Michigan. Interesting. I'm going to have to look into that. They say, so they looked at the U.S. Census Bureau information. This is actually specific to 2013 to 2017. So this is outdated. I'll have to look at some information from there. I don't like those stats. I only like to look at things that are a little more recent than that. Yeah, I would prefer. So I wonder if this is the same. I do think here, though, with the top metropolitan cities, this does sound right. That sounds right to me. Just from what I've heard and other stats I've seen when it comes to men working. And then the relationship. So this is the juicy part. I'm just kidding. So how do black men compare to all men when it comes to relationships? So basically marriage. That's what we're saying here. How do they compare? Hopefully I'm still sharing my screen. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. All right, let's dig into it. Before we dig into it, I see some other comments, so let me address these. Sharky's getting a tour guide. Savage says, I want to move to Seattle. I think Seattle will be a great market for black men. The stats are telling us so. Sharky says, be sure to hit that like button. Yes. Toast to that. My low carb drink over here. Okay. Because you guys know I'm gym life. That's why I'm wearing a ponytail. Back to the gym and cutting the carbs. So we're about that life for this month. Okay, so Sharky got to do before I move, yada, yada, yada. What are you guys talking about? You guys talking to each other. You're not talking to me. You're not talking to me. ATL has two stereotypes: breakup capital and gay capital. Interesting. Yes, that's what I've heard. Not faithful men, and not a place for like for Black woman that's wanting a straight Black man. Probably not the place to go. Not saying everyone, clearly, but yeah. So there's that about Atlanta. You have 1 year's of experience, Savage. For computer programmers, like once you have a year or two of experience, you should definitely be able to make at least 60, depending on where you are. Like Louisiana, yeah, I would say just get more skills and you should be able to market yourself well. We're going into a market that's open now. More people need people to work, especially in the IT field. So you should be a pretty competitive person. 1.4% Honolulu is Black. There we go. I didn't think there were many Black people in Hawaii. Savage, you're cracking me up, but sorry, had to delete the last message. Don't want anyone offended. Oh, Sharky, what did you say? Okay, let's go. Let's get into Black men. Okay, so divorce rates: 10% of all Black men are divorced. 10% of all men in general are divorced. Widowed, separated, same kind of stats in here: 3 to 2%. Currently married, that's where it gets low. Black men currently married to anyone. So we're not going to talk about Black men. We are going to talk about Black men and who they marry, but it's not even saying like Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. It's just married. 33% of Black men are married, and we've talked about that slightly in another video. 49% of all men are married. So about half of all men are married. 33% of Black men are married currently. So this is not saying you were married and then you got divorced, because the divorce stats, widowed, separated, all that's the same. The difference here is who's getting married and who's actually staying, actually currently married, I should say. So 33%, that's a very low number. We do know there have been many stats that show when a man is married, he gets more money. So there is an issue right there that I'm seeing, the stats telling us the story. And then we see never married. 52% of Black men are never married. Never married. Compared to, so we see slightly over half of Black men never married. All men, 37%, never married. So less than half, over half. And so I got a little flack for telling Black women to date who they want. If you think a white man is attractive, Asian man is attractive, Hispanic man is attractive, Samoan man is attractive, date them. Because, well, especially if you want to get married, because the stats are telling the story for women that want to get married. Black men, 52% of them never married. 37% of all men. And then when you get into stats specific to specific races of men, I think that was tell an even different story, but we just compare to all the men, right? So fight me if you want to, but I still say date interracially. Why would you date solely? I'm not saying solely date white men. I'm saying open up your pool, because these stats are telling you Black men, 52%, never married. And only 33% are currently married. It's not really telling the story that Black men want to get married. It may be the case that Black men want to get married. When I go to social media and hear random comments from Black men just in the random community, this online world that we're in, it doesn't make me think differently from these stats. So, because I see a lot of Black men complaining about getting married and having kids and all these things. So the stats tell us the story, right? Okay, let me go to the comments here. What do you guys think about this? Do you think it's, can you see it? I mean, in your communities, in your networks, are you seeing these same stats? because then we're going to move into of the married men. And I think they do compare Black women in here a little bit, which again, I didn't want to focus on Black women today. I want to focus on them Thursday. But yeah. Savage says you did not notice the comment. Hey, Zero, welcome in. Nice to see you guys. Nice to see you. Savage is all good. Jessica already read it, so I deleted my message about deleting it. Oh, I read it out? Oh, I didn't see anything rude or anything like that. A better tomorrow. Hey, a better tomorrow. Go keto, Jess. You won't regret it. I have done keto before. I've definitely seen results. It's great. I just don't see myself doing that long term because I don't eat meat. I know you can do a vegan or vegetarian keto, but it's extremely tough. And it would just be very limiting for me. So I am just about going to the gym, toning. Yeah. So, So I'm kind of trying to recover from just past 2-3 weeks ago when I like it all started with my birthday weekend. If you saw my vlog, I ate pasta. I was eating. I was doing some eating. So I am paying for that, paying for it now, suffering the consequences. But thank you for that comment. Keto is a great diet for those that want fast weight loss results. Okay, so let's go back into this story that we're seeing. But yes, again, I want to leave with this point. Married men make more. So maybe that is one thing to consider here. This is from the US Census 2018. Okay, so Black marriage in 2017 is what they're looking at. So they did a quick highlight. They said, although 52% of Black men have never been married, 49% of all men are currently married. Only 33% of Black men are currently married, while only 37% of all men in America have never been married. And then Black men are also slightly more likely to be separated from their spouses. Well, that was a very small percentage, so very, very minimal. I don't know what that's kind of skewed. Like, it's about the same. It really is. But they are saying they're slightly more likely to be separated from their spouses, is what they're saying. But what I saw in the stats is that they're the same. They're the same. Okay, so Black marriage, what does it look like? Who are Black men actually married of the 33% that are married? And this probably backs up more of my interracial dating for Black women. Okay, so Black marriage in 2017. Among non-Hispanic, I like that they make that distinction, African Americans age 15 and up. Wow, they went 15 and up. Wow. Who's getting married at 15? I mean, I guess some people are some places, but in the US, maybe in Utah. I don't know how many Black people are in Utah. Okay, so who are Black men married to? 85% have a Black wife. Let's put that out there. 85% have a Black wife. So there's a lot of like things you see, like Black men don't marry Black women. Now, what I would love for the stats to show are Black men that are marrying dark-skinned women like me compared to lighter tone or mixed race women, because they lump everything that's remotely Black into Black. So I would love to see those stats, and I would love to see the stats of the net worth of these men as well, and how they kind of rank up based on who they're marrying. I think that would be interesting to see, but we don't see that here. So we do have a little comparison here. So 85% of Black men have a Black wife, 9% have a white spouse, so about close to 10%, and then 3% have Hispanic spouses, and then other, which I would imagine maybe the other could be anything. It could be people that are saying, I wonder if that's mixed or if it's Asian or, indigenous even, who knows? And then who do Black women married? Of course, they're putting in Black women because they're talking about Black men when it comes to relationships. So Black men married, 93% have a Black husband of those that are married. We'll talk about that Thursday. 4% have a white spouse, and then 2% Hispanic and 1% other. So, as far as dating, like white, Hispanic, whatever, we date them less. But when it comes to Hispanic, we're about the same when it comes to Black men and Black women. So, Black men that have Hispanic spouses, 3%, Black women that have Hispanic spouses, 2%. So, Black men and Black women must like Hispanic people about the same to get married. So, that's cool. I have dated a Hispanic man before. Okay, so interesting. Interesting. What do you guys think about that one? And then we're going to get into what happened to Black marriage. When did it change? Let's see. Oh, thank you. Wait a minute. Okay, I'm going to go through some comments, but thank you, Murad. I'm going to put you up on the screen in a minute. Hey, Swaps Performance. Nice to see you. 24% of men who are not married live with their women. That's not good. I don't like that. So you're willing to, so 24% of men are willing to not marry a woman, but they're willing to be their roommate? I don't know. I don't know about that. I don't like that. I'm old fashioned though, a little bit. You don't have to worry about no weight. You look great. Oh, thank you, Savage. You always say nice, positive things like that. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's more of a vanity. I'm a little vain, just a little bit. Just a little bit. So I just want to, when I look in the mirror, make sure everything's looking right. So it's just personal, totally personal, vanity type of thing. It's not really a health. Like it's not like a doctor's telling me, "Hey, you need to lose some weight." It's I want to look better in certain outfits, so I want to lose some weight, and I just want to tone up. And it's summertime, so swimsuits. If you saw my blog about my time in Houston, swimsuit time. So I'm trying to keep it right. Okay, I'm deviating from the conversation. Thank you, Savage. Yeah, a lot of weak men complaining about marriage and children, but I remember hearing about the younger generations not wanting to have children or getting married. I don't know what yes, millennial age people, me. We in general are getting married later because we're not making enough money to keep up with the rising prices. So I've actually talked about in the past video about that a little bit. Happy to talk about that again and do a deeper dive. But yes, that is a big reason. And when you're seeing stats like this, let me just pull it up. Let me pull it up here. I know half of my face is cut off, but let me pull this up. Let's just go back to the stats because all people are saying this, white, Black, Hispanic, whatever. They're saying they're kind of pulling back. They're not ready to move forward with a family, especially millennials, because they're not making enough. They don't feel like they're making enough. And then we see stats like this. Black men are making less, 10,000 less than other men. So of course, if your money's not right, and I'm putting my mentally thinking as if I were a man, would I want to get married if I don't have, a certain amount of income? But also if I were a man, I would not want to make a baby if I don't have a certain income. So we might want to talk about that. Because just because you're not married doesn't mean you don't have a baby. We see that happening in the community. The church doesn't call people out for that, do they? You guys know how I feel about the Black church not calling that out? Can't have both. Okay. So I want to do a little thank you to Murad. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Says I owe you. Yes, I remember. Thank you, Murad. I appreciate you coming by as well. It's so funny how it shows up on the restream. But thank you so much for your $10 super chat contributing to the channel. I appreciate that. Carter's Eat is in here. Hello, Carter's Eat. Welcome in. Nice to see you. We're talking about Black people, specifically Black men tonight. We will be talking about Black women on Thursday. DOD says, yes, I agree. I've not seen Asian and Black. Interesting. It changed during the feminist movement. Maybe. Oh, yeah, because women were like, we don't have to get married to these men. They're not doing, I could live my best life by myself. Love it. We have options. I don't have to take this. I don't have to take this life if I don't want to. Because, yes, there is the woman empowerment movement, which, here's the thing, if women saw value in getting married, women will get married. If there's value in getting married, let me bring myself up on the big screen. Let's talk about it. If there's value in getting married, let's say some man is like, yeah, I'm a good man. They show me they're a good man, and they show there's value. Like, look, I'm gonna take care of things. You're living your life now. You live your life with me. I'm taking care of the home bills. You do what you want to do. We're gonna live this great, vibrant life. What woman is saying no to that? However, if a man is coming to me saying, hey, you want to get married to me and like be in my space, be kind of my maid and, do other things for me and we can split these bills 50-50 and we can just, split the duties maybe. Well, you take more of the house duties, clean, take, then we can have some kids, mess your body up. You give me these kids, right? I want a little boy. I want someone to look just like me. And yeah, you down for that? No, I would run away. No, no, that sounds, where is the value in that? What is the benefit for me? So yes, women empowerment of saying, I don't have to do that. I can make my own income. I can do my own thing. If you offer something valuable to me and you're a good person and all those things, because characteristics and traits and all that comes into play too. Some people are just not good people. Now you're talking about something. Now you're talking about, okay, an empowered woman that wants to get married. That has been impactful for every group of women. We see that all across the world, right? We see movements in places like the Middle East for women because women have been told that we're less valuable compared to men. And the truth is coming out slowly but surely. Okay, I'm going off on a tangent, but that's what I'm going to say about that, about women empowerment. Savage says, I understand. Thank you. Yes, thanks, Murad. And I see, but you also said married men make more. They do. Married men do make more. So that's like a benefit for who, though? If I were a man, and I know that I am going to make more, but I think a part of that has been historical. Because in the workplace, when we talk about men that are married versus men that aren't, and who's making the decisions on who's going to get paid, you have seen trends, and we've seen trends in the workplace where, and even comments where men have said when women are like, I want to get paid more, do you have a family to take care of? Comments like this have been made. So that is one part of it. Also, don't you think you're going to work a little harder if you've got a dependent in your home and you're trying to build this build this legacy and got these kids? Like, yes, you're going to. But there's also some of that mixed in where men have paid other men with that thinking, well, he's got a family now. We got to get him taking care of other men, the old boys club mentality. Does that include Black men will be the question. But generally, the stats show us that married men, not just looking at Black men, white, just all men, make more. So it's interesting. Why would the church call out their money? Right? Zero. So I don't really like talking about like people that I know, but I can talk about it here with you guys. But I am not 100% with the Black church because they're not calling out this stuff. Like, how are people in church and they're paying you this money and they're not getting anywhere themselves? There's still poverty in communities where this church is at. 15 churches around here, but where are the businesses? Where are the, like, don't get me started on that. We're gonna have to have another Black church discussion. Oh, thank you, Savage. Thank you for the 411 super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. Money for my next mukbang. You guys know I don't plan on doing any mukbangs. Can this be a mukbang where I'm just sitting on camera drinking? Maybe my next vlog. I don't really like being on camera eating. I just don't. I don't even really watch mukbangs because I'm like, I don't like seeing people necessarily slurping up food. If it's a fruit and veggie one, because there's one lady on here, Vanity TV, I've watched her mukbangs where she's eating fruit, and I'm like, oh, yum. But like, I just don't like seeing people slurping up food. I'm weird. Like, maybe I'm weird because I know everyone loves mukbangs, but I just don't like them. I don't like them. Like, I don't want to see you eat. But thank you so much for the super chat, Savage Scientist. Hey, OG, welcome in. Nice to see you here. Appreciate you joining. You get to see more of me now. Yes, I'm going to change that because I'm bringing back the stats, and then I'm going to close things out. DOD says, shake my head. What's DOD shaking his head about? Sister D's talking points are all over the place. Which talking points? About the Black men's statistics with their low pay compared to all men. So this is not vodka. It's a Truly. So kind of like a sparkling buzzed water. Because it's low calorie, low carbs. Yes, I'm fancy. For being fancy tonight. Zero says, I don't like mukbangs either. I don't get why people like watching people eat. Thank you, Zero. I'm of the same mindset, but people don't really see that. I don't know. People like watching people eat. I think people just in our culture, food is just so important. So we're always looking at food, and maybe that's the appeal. Just thinking about eating. I don't know. Okay, so black men more likely to be married than white men until 1960. So they were more likely, and this coincides with Black women too. 1960. So someone tell me, because I am not the biggest history buff, I will tell you, what happened in the 1960s and 70s. We had war, we had integration, I'm just trying to think here. We had a lot of our leaders taken out during the 60s. Like, MLK, Malcolm X. I'm just trying to think of why did this change? Because they do highlight the war on drugs, but that didn't happen until 70s, 80s later. So why did it start to change in 1960? Why did we start changing? So this chart is showing the percentage of men never married among men aged 35 and older. So this could be even a little bit skewed, because I think I would wonder what the age, like looking at the ages of younger men too. I think that would be interesting to see. I don't know why they picked that age group in particular. I'm a little suspicious about that. Like, why? So I will have to, let me make a note to myself, because I want to dig into that stat a little bit more. So I just want to know why they picked age 35 and up. So I feel like Black men during that time, they got married younger than 35, right? Compared to today. Like today, we're marrying at older ages, right? It's totally normal, especially go to places like New York. People are getting married and having babies at like 40, 45. Like people in my Um, look at my coworkers between now and like last year, like a lot of them even 40. I'm like, you have a little baby? Wow. Okay, then that's what we're doing. All right. So if I decide to have a baby at 40, well, no, I got lots of time ahead of me to figure it out. But I don't think I'm changing. Okay. Anyway, I'm deviating from the topic, but I do want to figure out why they said that. But what happened in 1960 in particular, or why that changed, where we started seeing more black men never married compared to white men? It like flip flopped on us. What happened? You guys tell me. No, not the pay the marriage part. Oh, the marriage thing. Okay. What part of the what about the marriage? Like about um the 85% and like looking into the interracial marriage? Like what part are you talking about, DOD? Um I don't miss DOD's comments because he puts it like all caps. He's like the one outside of the super chats and his comments. I'm like, he's the one comment I normally don't miss. Jessica, get fancy glasses. These are old. So this is like in homage to St. Louis. This is my Cardinals flute here. It's Lisette. But yeah, my Cardinals, St. Louis. Just reminiscing about St. Louis. The feminist movement. Well, of course. Also about the feminist movement. There's a lot of people talking about that. Yeah, I bet. I mean, it's important. It is important. I think that women should feel more empowered as we get more information. And I just I don't like that in mostly every society, we're kind of fed this idea that men are more powerful. Now, obviously, in the physical, yes, women cannot outrun men on, just a standard, or they're not going to be physically as strong. But like, women can do a lot of things men can do. Women add value. Women bring life into the world. Like I don't understand how we got shifted into thinking we're less than. So I am bothered by that. Savage says, I know, right? I think agreeing with DOD. And then the feminist movement changed everything with marriage. Hey, I mean, if you gave me some rights and I didn't have rights before, I mean, because let's think about that. Before the feminist movement, women didn't really have many options to live. Like, how do you get by? A lot of your options were pretty bleak if you were not with men. Like, kind of like with the Middle East. Like when I went to Morocco, you have to be with men. Like you have to, otherwise bad things can happen to you. So we're in this place where, yeah, women have been empowered. I don't know what. Now, I have seen some. It's interesting because I've listened to a little bit of content about this, and it's interesting to hear the men and how negative some men are towards the feminist movement. But you're upset that women became empowered. It kind of reminds me of white men or white people in general that are upset that companies are talking about diversity and inclusion. It's like, so you got so used to, having certain advantages, and now the playing field is even, and now you don't like it. Like, I don't understand that. I don't, I've seen some of the videos on YouTube, and I'm just like, same with the high value content. I just, half the time I'm just over here shaking my head. I'm just like, tired. DOD, I don't think you can blame it all on the feminist movement. It certainly didn't exist in 1960. Yeah, the feminist, like women's suffrage and like moving towards women empowerment, and like that has been going on since like what, the 1800s? Women have been fighting for their rights for a really long time. So there's more here. Like I would be interested to hear more. So DOD is saying the feminist movement. But what else? Like what happened in 1960? Like what happened? And the feminist movement, white women really pushed a lot of the feminist movement. So, I mean, it doesn't explain why these numbers swapped. Because if that's the case, white men and black men are just they're just going to be non-married. They just need to be non-married. Like the stats should show that both groups were just increased. More men were just not married, is what I would see in the stats if it just affected all men. Because the feminist movement was not actually, white women got a lot more out of the feminist movement. They got things first, just like the right to vote and everything else. Got it first. Not that I'm salty for that, but it is true. Yeah. Am I doing a panel? I am not doing a panel. But if you would like to talk, if you would like to share a perspective, I can bring you up for a minute. Let me know, and I will add the invite list or the link. And black women joined white women. Yeah, but here's the thing, DOD. If you're saying that the only reason for this is the feminist movement, or even that's a reason for this, well, why did it swap? If that's the case, white women and black women were in the feminist movement, right? You just said that. Then why do we see these stats and we see that things swapped? Because white men's numbers, and they are calling out white men here. I get that. But not all men. They're calling out white men and compared to black men. So why is it that the white men, their numbers actually lowered when it came to the percentage of men never married post 1960? So what happened in 1960, 1960s, 1970? Like what was happening in here, right? Then we even go in, they talk about, so I talk about the war on drugs. That was later. So I'm trying to find out 1960 what happened. So in 2012, the U.S. Census Bureau released a report that studied the history of marriage in the United States. They discovered some startling statistics when calculating marriage by race. They found that African Americans aged 35 and older were more likely to be married than white Americans from 1890 until sometime around the 1960s. Not only did they swap places, so they swapped places. That is not just the feminist movement. I don't know why we're focusing on that part. But not only did they swap places during the 1960s, but in 1980, the number of never married African Americans, I don't know why this, whatever, black people, began a staggering climb from about 10% to more than 25% by 2010, while the percentage remained just over 10% for white men through 2000. So things are not changing like that for white men. What happened? So this might tell us a little bit more. 1964, Lyndon B. Johnson declares war on poverty. That happened. 1971, Nixon declares war on drugs. 1984, Reagan signed Sentencing Reform Act. This is the story they're trying to paint, but it still doesn't quite explain what is happening exactly in here. So I would love to hear some perspective on that. I think integration played a part. Thank you, Zero. I was hoping someone would share that because integration happened in the 1960s. Yes. And I have to do some research. I don't like listening to content creators and then just kind of saying like, yeah, they're right. But Cynthia G is one YouTuber that has actually shared some saddening information that I've been like, oh, this is not, it's like really cringy to listen to, but it's basically showing how many black men during the 60s, which I didn't even realize, were pushing for integration because they wanted interracial marriage to happen. And so it's interesting because we heard two different men. We had Martin Luther King, we had Malcolm X, different ideas. And I think Malcolm X, you guys know this, I think his thinking was just ahead of his time, because it's like when you look at just not the now, like, yes, integration in that time for the now, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But when you look at it economically and look ahead, does it make sense? So I think I always thought Malcolm X was just ahead of his time and how his thinking was. It was very focused on the Black community, and what was beneficial to them. Because I think integration actually just benefited the entire country. Because if you think about it, things like sports, who makes up a lot of the sports players? Black men. Who gets a lot of the money from sports? Who owns, right? White men. Integration, bring on the money, and things like that. So, yeah, I think that was a part of it. I don't think it tells the full story. I don't think every Black man was just like, which is what I don't agree with this particular YouTuber, but that paints a part of the picture, right? I don't think just every Black man was like, yeah, where the white woman at? But my mom actually told me something interesting. And we weren't even talking about this, but she told me that one of her cousins back in the day, and my mom's older, said that she was complaining about Black men. And she said this statement: all Black men want is a white woman and a Cadillac. I'm gonna say that. I'll say that again because I had never heard that before. I had never heard it before. But my mother told me, Black woman, I think it was her cousin. So they're, talking about Black men. All Black men want is a white woman and a Cadillac. Now, this is going back into the 60s, 70s. All Black men want is a white woman and a Cadillac. Blew my mind. And I was like, Mom, really? And she said, yeah. And she was laughing and just, like it was just a normal thing. Have any of you heard that? Like, I was just like, okay. All right then. So it's not like this is like a new occurrence. So even back then, 60s, 70s, that kind of talk was happening. So maybe Zero has a point with integration being a part of it. Let me bring it back up. And Zero said white women are still getting benefits over every other woman, and men also when it comes to like, looking at affirmative action plans and things like that. Yes. Women, when you look at the stats of companies and what they've actually done, women, white women, have gained the most from these, inclusive and targeted programs, with, different races of people falling behind. That's why a lot of companies they're not talking as much about women. Yes, they do in certain industries like tech, but it's more so you'll hear them talk about diversity in different forms. Veterans, people with disabilities, even, that's being more to the forefront, which I love because I think we need to push that more because there is a large percentage of people that are, people with disabilities and they want to work, they want to contribute to the world, and they're finding hard times doing so. Okay, so DOD, you're going to be my speaker to end the chat. So I'm going to hold on to that and bring you up once I get through these stats, and I'll bring up. Integration was the worst thing that happened to Black people. Oh, wow. Malcolm had regretted integration. Yeah, that's true. Mylene says hi. Hi, Mylene. Thank you for joining. Nice to see you. Thank you for being in the background listening. All right. So I think this is as far as I actually got earlier. These are the reasons that they're saying of why this was happening. 1960s, civil rights movement. Then we spearhead up to 80s, 90s. We had Reagan, Bush, Clinton, all of them on the war on drugs, which is interesting because some of these, are now becoming legal. So I'm going to say about that. And then we have these other stats, right? Because of this war on drug, I would say a lot of it 2013, about 6% of working age 18 to 64-year-old Black men were in state or federal prison or in municipal jail. And the chart shows us this. This was 3 times higher than the 2% of all men in the same age group. What's more concerning is that approximately 34% of all working age Black men who were not incarcerated were ex-offenders, compared to 12% of all men. So if you look at the stats here, I think I'll end with this one unless I see something else interesting, because I did see this earlier and then I think I peeled off. 6% of Black men are in jail or prison compared to all men, which is 2% compared to 6%. Ex-offenders. This impacts your ability to get a job heavily, right? And to go into different, obviously voting and all kinds of things. 34% compared to 12%. And then I thought it was interesting to see this. The percentage who are veterans, 14% compared to 15%. But who do we normally see in imagery when it comes to being proud about being an American, being a veteran? It's always white men. I don't even normally see white women being shown as veterans. It's typically white men. Veterans. What about this percentage of Black men? 14%, right alongside all men. Isn't that interesting? And then, interesting enough, there are more disabled Black men compared to all men in this country, compared to these stats. Okay. Now, again, this one is, I think, from 2013, it says, so there could be some changes, but either way, this is not good. And I don't know if there's been a ton of change, just because you think about government. I don't think there's been a ton of policy changes, to be honest. Okay, and then I'm going to look and then I'm going to bring up, okay, that was it. Oh, cool. That was it. Yes, awesome. Yeah, so I'm going to close things out, bring up DOD so you can share some points with us. You haven't heard of it either, Zero? That statement, all Black men want is a white woman in a Cadillac. I just cannot, I will never forget it. Like, now that my mom has told me, I'm just like, what? Why? I have heard the Cadillac stereotype before, though. I don't know why. I don't like Cadillacs. I think they're too big and kind of, I don't know, just the design isn't for me. You guys know I like, I just like smaller. I don't know. I just like smaller. Okay, I'm going to put this in the comments so that in DOD or anyone else can come up and chat. So anyone can share. No one has. My mom said it, and it's crazy because it rhymes. All Black women want is white woman in a Cadillac. I gotta look this up. Let me see. I'm gonna look on Google. Let me. You guys know I like Google to tell me stuff. And this is a South thing. Like, my mom's from the South. She's from the South, so who knows? But anyway, I don't see anything, but that just proves the thinking that people were thinking this back in the 60s and 70s. I had heard my mother tell me that being a Black man, I have 2 strikes. I didn't know what it meant, but I do now. Yeah. Yeah. Sheldon says, hi, Sheldon. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks so much. I'm going to finish my drink. That closes it out. Like, there's a lot that, stacked up against Black men, but these stats are not great. It's not good. Closing things out with the ex-offenders, it's just not good. But 50%, I just want to bring it home. 50% of Black men are attending college. Because there are some people that say Black men don't go to college. I'm like, They're going to, I mean, at least half are going to college, right alongside of 60% of all men are going to college. But it's about who are they actually able to complete college? And we know Black people in general, I have seen multiple stats that show Black students have the harder time completing college, whether it's due to finances, just a struggle with dealing with, college life, and even dealing with racism when it comes to professors. All of that happens. But only 19% have the bachelor's degree compared to 32%. Again, I think that stat is low for men in general, though. So I'm kind of giving men in general the side eye there. And then what was the other stat that I was giving men a side eye about? Oh, and then the percentage of income. Only 26% all men making 75,000 or more, 13% making 75,000 or more, 50,000 or more. About half, close to half of all men are making 50,000 or more, and only 33% of Black men. So that's disheartening too. It's not going to help. Again, this is a follow up in my video where I talked about poverty in the Black community. It has to start with Black men. These stats, what I want to say is these stats have to change for there to be a real impact on the Black community. That's just it. They just have to change. I don't know how to do that outside of Black male mentorship, like Black men making communities together and building their communities. We can't just keep complaining. We have to take action. We can't just keep talking about schools. We have to start building. We can't just start talking about, oh, we need to make more money. We need to start doing it, taking actions to do it. Learning new skills. I talk about automation that's coming up. So we just, it just, let me just take another. I'm talking about Black women on Thursday, but I wanted to talk about men because when you look at communities, typically it starts with the men. So these are the stats that we're working with. Okay, so I was trying to give it a minute to see if DOD wanted to come up. Here is the link right there. Hopefully it works. This is Restream, so I've only had, both times I think it was Sharky up here. Might have been Mr. Wise too. So, but I did have two people come up successfully to the stage. So we'll see if DOD is up. Zero said that's not a Southern thing either. I don't know, but so I say all that to say this Black woman had this thinking that all Black men wanted was a white woman in a Cadillac. Where does that thinking come from? Who knows what she was seeing or either what she was hearing people say. Oh, let me see. Real brother, hello, welcome in. That is such a horrible falsehood. All Black men want is a white woman in a Cadillac. It's simply not true. They want a go. I should have known, real brother. He's coming here and making me laugh. I have to talk about this for a second. Did you guys hear the story of the man, this Black man? He won the lottery. $30,000. Won the lottery. He took $20,000 of that $30,000. He's in the Black neighborhood. He's in the Black community. He used $20,000. Like, you know how much Bitcoin, you know how much stocks, you know how much, anyway, you know how much I could have just bought with that money? He takes 20,000 of 30,000, over half of his winnings, and buys a gold chain, only to have that gold chain go to a gas station and have it stolen by men in his own community. We have this talk about the high value versus low value man, menace to society. So, either way, this man, he is contributing to the community, buying this gold chain. Hopefully he bought from a Black business. I don't know. Like, none of that says this is a good idea, right? He got it taken. He got his gold chain taken from the thinking, the mentality has to change. Over half. Like the thing that got me was like, so you used over half of that money not to pay up your rent for a year or two, not to pay up some bills. You could have even given that money just to your mama. I don't know, just to anybody. Pay some kids like college tuition, like donate it to charity. I mean, give it to the gold chain. So you made me think about that real brother with this. They want a gold tooth too. Just make it make sense. Like you're flaunting this stuff, but what do you actually have? What is your net worth? What do you own? This is the thinking we need to push. I did a video where I talked about like, are you working for cash or are you working for assets? We're not working for cash. We're not working for gold teeth. We're not working for gold change. We're not like, I get it. That can have a resale value, but I'm not about to flaunt the stuff around, especially in a community that I know it can be taken. Like it's the likelihood of it being taken is higher. If anything, get yourself into another neighborhood where you might have other opportunities or build something in that neighborhood will be the number one option. Build something in the neighborhood. Build a at-home business. I don't know. It just, that really got me like, what? People are doing this. But that's what happens when you don't earn the money. Typically when people win things like by lottery, they spend it. Like any group of people, they just spend it. Spend it. Don't do anything productive with it, especially when it comes to, but I will say even more so with our community, unfortunately. But it's the thinking. We have to learn. We have to teach financial education. Okay, so it says something about overlays, and I need to. Oh, okay. Well, you can come up another time. I'll have the discussion on Thursday about Black women, so you can join that. Sorry. That is so weird. I think this is the same link. It says invite up to 6 people. Maybe if I change this and show that I'm sharing it, trying. Okay. So, yes, I heard he got his chain robbed. Yes, he did. Money just gone. DOD, you need to close down any other tabs in your browser that may be conflicting. Oh, okay. So DOD, let's see if you close down your tabs, if that works. Or try opening Restream in a browser session separate from YouTube. Okay, good idea. Thanks, Sharky. Jess, there's something I've been meaning to send you for several weeks. I want your thoughts. I'll send it tonight. Okay, go for it. All right. Is it something for me to talk about? Hopefully it's not super controversial. I know as soon as I heard he got a gold chain, and here's the thing, he was on video saying he had heard of someone else getting robbed at that same gas station. Alrighty, there's that. You did it and it still doesn't work. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Okay, well, we will try again another night. But this is the video. Overall, moral of the conversation is that Black men have to do better to change the community. This is an extension of my original video. It is pinned where I talk about how poverty, it starts with the Black men. Because it does. How do we have a thriving community if the men are not making enough, not building enough in their community, etc.? Oh, DOD is here. Okay, I'm going to bring DOD up. And I'm going to mute myself so DOD can say his piece. And I see, I guarantee you'll want to do a show about this. Okay, all right, cool. I'll send it to me. All right, so I'm going to bring you up, DOD. Hey, DOD. Can anyone hear DOD in the chat? I can't hear you. Let me mute myself for a second. Okay, DOD, I don't hear you. Are you talking? Zero can't hear you either? Okay. Yeah, DOD, we can't hear you. I'll give it one more minute to see if he is able to chat with us. Interesting. Okay, in the meantime, no, I can't hear you, DOD. Oh, okay. DOD, Sharky is saying to make sure to enable your camera and microphone. Oh, he tried it. Okay. He's saying next time. Okay. No worries. No worries. DOD does have a channel on here, so if you want to check him out, anyone. Yeah, so technology issues tonight. That's okay, but I appreciate you trying, DOD. And with that, what was I saying? Oh, real brother, hopefully you give me a hint here of what I am going to be talking about on a video soon. But that's really the point of the video. I just wanted to highlight some of these stats. Talk about things like, the fact that there are men going to college. So that's what we saw in the stats. Half of Black men are going to college, or making that step, right along with 60% of all men. But we need to make sure, like, I don't know if it's Black men mentoring other Black boys that are going to school, but making sure that those boys are actually graduating from college with their bachelor's degree. And then also with high school, we see 15% have less than a high school diploma compared to 12% of all men. I think those numbers are just low for men and like bad for men in general, but I don't think there's any reason why people in this country should not be getting their high school diploma or at least GED equivalent. We did see 35% of Black men do go back to get their equivalency or at least graduate high school, 35%. 28% of all men there are doing that. And then we did see that 12% have bachelor's degrees. Black men have bachelor's degrees, 12%, compared to all men at 20%. So again, we need to make sure, Black men need to make sure these boys are actually getting the degree, mentorship, something. And then only 19% are actually getting bachelor's degree and higher compared to 32% of all men. So that's something else to be cognizant about. Labor force, percent that are in the labor force age 16 to 64, 69% compared to 79% of all men. And then below the poverty level, which we talked about, 21% of Black men are below poverty level compared to 12% of all men. Then we looked at the stats of the salaries, 41,000 median earnings for Black men compared to 52,000 of all men. So there's a pay gap there, right, between the races of men. We don't see the specific races of those men, but I'm assuming white, Asian. A lot of these stats that they do on Black demographics compare white men and women to Black men and women. So I would assume it is white men and maybe Asian men included, but I don't know for sure. They just say all men. And then we looked at white collar, blue collar service occupations. And, they're pretty close to all men. 41% are in white collar jobs, 50% of all men are in white collar jobs, but the pay is not the same, right? Blue collar jobs, 36% compared to 35%. So right along the same there with other men. And then service occupations, Black men actually take on more service occupations compared to 15% of other men. So this is things like, service jobs, right? Any customer service, food, waitress, those things. And then we looked at the cities where Black men outnumber Black women. When it comes to working men, we found out that St. Louis, Missouri is really bad. They're at the bottom when it comes to Black men that are actually working. And I attest to that. Whereas places like San Diego, you see a lot of Black men working. Seattle, Denver, Phoenix, Minneapolis, if you're a Black man and looking for a place that may be good for you to work and thrive in. Then we looked at the marriage stats. 52% never married Black men compared to all men, 37%. And then we looked at Black men that are currently married, 33% compared to 49%. Similar stats when it comes to divorce rates and widowed and separated, all men compared to Black men, about the same. Slight tick up for Black men being separated, but it's a percentage point. The never married part is the thing that I'm concerned with. And then who do Black men typically marry? 85% are marrying Black women. And then 93% of Black women are marrying Black men. Now, Black men are marrying white women slightly more than Black women are marrying white men, 9% compared to Black women, 4%. Hispanic, they've got similar chances when it comes to Black men or women because we're marrying them at about 3 to 2% rates. So about the same, similar to other races too, like the other category. Now what we need to talk about in a future video is about Black men being more likely to be married than white men up until 1960. So we're going to have to do some digging into that to find out why. That'll be in another video once I do some research. So with that, I'm going to read a few more comments on here and then I'm going to close things out. DOD, make sure to enable your camera. Okay, so DOD is going to be ready next time. Get them fast fingers. I can hear. Yeah, I type pretty fast. My nails are not done, so I don't really want to show them on camera. Let's see. Yes, you tried, DOD. We tried tonight. Okay. Savage closes out with the comment, Seattle. So Seattle is the place, I think, for Black men to go if they're looking for jobs and looking to thrive. So with that, we have looked at the stats. The stats has told us a story. And we're going to move forward with exploring it a little bit more. And on Thursday night, we're going to explore Black women. What are the statistics showing? What's the story with Black women in the United States? What's going on with us? So at St. Louis, I can only be bested or worsted by East St. Louis. But at least you're unbiased about the subject. Yeah, I try to be unbiased. Obviously, I'm going to be somewhat biased for women because I'm a woman. But I try to just focus on what the stats are saying, and then also my own perspective of what I'm seeing happening. And, I try to do some social listening. What are people saying? What do I hear in these YouTube streets and on social media? A lot of time when I go on social media, I'm disheartened. If you follow me on social media, if you follow me on Instagram, half the time, I'm done when I say, it's time for bed. I'm just we're done. So with that, I'm going to close things out. Thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate the conversation. It was a great discussion. Thank you to each of you. And thank you for the super chats. Going to shout out Savage Scientist for your super chat earlier, and Murad Vlogs. Thank you both for your super chat. And with that, I am going to close things out and I will see you all on Thursday. And just stay safe. What else do I want to tell you guys? Yeah, peace, love, all of that good stuff. And I'll see you guys again soon. Bye.